Welcome. Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
This is Starr Radio UK.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5,
Right.
4,
Good evening, listeners and viewers.
3,
Welcome to
2,
the Property Hour Show, Starr Radio UK. And tonight, you're live with me, KBA Bossman, and Nay Ajayi, my co-host. Ever faithful, and we're growing stronger and bigger and better almost every other day. But then tonight, it's gonna be great. Yeah. I've already got an aroma of what is going to happen tonight. The kind of information that's been downloaded to us already, even before the interview, is just I don't know your take on that.
We have every week we have fantastic hosts, we have discussion, but tonight, you need to listen tonight.
Exactly.
There's going to be a lot of information coming up from somebody who's been in industry for a long time.
Wow.
So stay tuned. It's going to be nice.
It's going to be bigger. It's going to be better.
Yeah.
And also, first of all, let me apologize for the late start of the program. But then we're on, and thank you for viewers for joining us. And tonight, to set the ball rolling, we have in our midst, in our studio, a very, very experienced person, professional, and the property industry, and also his background and how it all started. Tonight we're gonna know, and people like this are hard to come by, and more so to talk about the impact he's made in our community and across board. And tonight we have no other than, I call him my honorable, is Mr. Della Segla. Yes, I hope I got it. I got it right. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Della.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for honoring our invitation. And to set the ball rolling, Mr. Segla, who is Mr. Della Segla?
Okay. I would say I was a bit lucky when I was young and ended up in the Soviet Union.
Wow.
Yes.
So you want me to give Mr. Vladimir a call tonight?
Why not? Maybe he's going to call in. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
There's no football tonight, so
no. Putin, you mean?
He's not coming home yet.
Yeah. No. Okay. So I did a little bit of study in the Soviet Union.
Sure.
So formerly now Russia, and also schooled in the Ukraine.
Ukraine?
Yes.
Wow.
I was thrown into studying Russian law. You have to really master your Russian language. So we were sent to language institutions that was very good.
Right.
Yeah, and your first study was a year of Russian study.
Wow.
Yes, but I took a step forward because I needed to learn the language and perfect it. So I lived with my tutors for a while instead of commuting with other people. I mean, there was more than 40 nationalities at the time.
40?
Yeah. Because the Soviet Union, their aim was to give scholarships to third world countries, and hence in Africa, Angola and all those countries were like very Russian based. And that. Yeah. To cut it short, yeah. I commuted with quite a lot of Russians instead of my demographic, and that helped me project way forward. So I did Russian law very quickly and moved on to international law in the Ukraine. And yes. My dad was a lawyer and a barrister, solicitor and a barrister, former Water Regional Minister, Richard Segler. Right, so I was always interested in politics. But yeah.
Are you a politician?
No, I'm not a politician.
That's a good one.
I'm a businessman. Yeah. So the knowledge that I accrued in the Soviet Union, I would say Russia and the Ukraine, was very eye-opening. Right, so when I ended up in the UK, I thought the friends that had led me on to thinking property had also introduced me to a lot of people, Jewish people in the UK that were into a lot of property. So they mentored me. I studied a lot from developers, learned a lot from property lawyers and that. So I built up my knowledge, and in doing that, helped a lot of people get on the property. Yes. So I've got a trail of youngsters who are growing to be property developers and acquiring portfolios and that.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I think we have the right man in this studio.
Exactly. I mean, people like yourself, that's why the management agreed for this program to be aired, and we're looking into our community for the youngsters, up and coming ones. Mainly they are diverting to other industries, but you know, for every community, for you to be heard or for you to have a voice in the community, I believe that economically, when you're strong, your voice will be heard, because when you pull out, there'll be the grounding or there'll be a standstill. So people like yourself, as Nicole said, sadly we have the right person. And when you talk about just this, when you talk about Russia, my dad also studied there. Blessed memory, Dr. Yanopia Bosman, blessed memory. He studied in Russia. He spoke the language, so I believe maybe I might be able to talk some Vladimir with you.
Okay.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Spasibo.
Right. Okay. So tonight, we're gonna talk extensively and generalize when it comes to property. Yeah. So, from what the background you've given us as a trained lawyer or a solicitor, you gave us a hint of why you got into property. But seriously, you decided to follow or to divert into property. What was your number one reason? Why?
I asked my dad a funny question. He only passed a car dealership. He's selling a car for 10,000.
Okay.
I told my dad I would never be able to buy a car for 10,000 pounds because I have to be on my life.
When was this? Is it a long time?
Yeah, it's a long time ago. And he said, no, you don't have to pay for the car in one go. You pay in installments.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you own the car. So I thought, that house is 200 grand. So I can buy that house. And that's okay. Absolutely. The same money. And I thought this was easy. You know, you don't have to come up with the whole amount to purchase a property. You can pay in installments, and you can make a lot of money over the years on the equity that accrues on the property. So I thought this is a lifetime investment that will bring you equity and profit in property. Exactly. But a lot of people buy property and they sit on it. And doesn't pay anything.
They sit on it.
They sit on it,
Okay.
think they're living comfortably, and they're paying the mortgage and that. And there's a lot of situations where people become interest on the mortgage. At the end of the 25 or 30 years, you don't own the property. You have to
Goes
have
back.
an endowment policy to pay the property back, unless you're on a pre-repayment mortgage.
Okay.
Right? That pays the property off. But it doesn't, people would rather look at the lower payment than the higher payment because it saves them money.
Yeah.
No, it's better to pay off a property over the years and see the equity lies on it, and at the end of the term, you own the property outright. Also, property brings in more property. If you have a property and there's equity in it, you can go ahead and do your buy to your properties with security around your main home.
Sure.
Or go for let to buy property, let your home to purchase another one.
Yeah.
Also, there's a lot that you can flip your property, purchase a property that's dilapidated, that needs work, or has potential into extending to 3 or flat. There's a lot of stuff you can do with your residential property that will work for you in the long term, in your savings. Purchase by to let purchase by over in the future. So property all around will win you a lot of profit in that if you do it properly. Now, nowadays you can extend properties in many ways because new builds are not the kind of property that will make a lot of money.
Sure.
They are short from things to buy with the middle of the view. Yes, you rent them out of home and buy a residential property. I've seen, I would rather say, the Windrush community,
Yes.
they tend to, they purchase property in a type of model that Indians and Asians did when they arrived in the UK.
Right.
5 people will live in a house and they'll create a consortium of the group, put their wages together, and be able to purchase another property. And it's a 5 in a group. And at the end of the day, they'll own 5 properties.
Mr. Della, sorry to cut you. I know, I mean, I can see you really love property.
He stepped even ahead of us.
You've gone so fast now. And sorry, I just caught you. The reason is that I know you know, if I let you, you're gonna go on. There's some few things that I would like you to expand on. You know, you talk about interest on. I mean, you talk about people who have properties, and then you know, I call them property seekers. You know, they are sitting for the property for lenders later because they are paying the interest on it. I know you've talked about endowment policy as well. I think I won't go to that at the moment. I'll leave that. But let's talk about the people who has interest on the mortgage. I mean, what's the danger in that?
You're only paying the interest for the loan you owe. So you're actually not paying the amount. It will be going down. When you have a mortgage, you have an interest rate. Okay. It always comes in the last page. It shows in your 1 to 25. And you will see if your payment is likely to increase. The amount you what the property belongs to pay is the same.
Right.
You can see if you're paid for about 20 years, the amount is the same. The good thing though is you might value more than you bought it for.
Okay.
In the market. If you haven't been remortgaging over the years in that, right? And use the money for other things. I mean, property works for people who will probably need money to start a business and all the rest. But it's best to leave equity in a property and not rather take out more, because at the end of the day you might find out that your property doesn't, you've got negative equity, right? Which, I mean, is the most fearful thing ever. Knowing that your property is not worth what it is on the open market, because you've taken all the money out of it.
Go ahead.
I think you've hit a very good point there. You know, because a lot of people they thought their property worth more than what it is really generally on the open market. I mean, I've wrote a lot of points down from what you've said, okay, but if you want to, can you kindly touch on something very important? You talk about
Consortium buying.
This is a good form, okay. It is something that really want to people to understand, because the system can be, I mean, if you don't, it can work with people with bad credit, it can work with people that don't have no deposit, it can work in a lot of ways, even people who are not really fully into real estate. So if you can explain a little bit about how this work and the advantage of this into our community.
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to top up to what you said,
Yeah.
because I've also put down same. I mean, I wanted to ask about the consortium buying as well. What Nay just the question asked, and he mentioned people with bad credit as well. Now, there's a global show, so not just specifically tailored for people in the UK, but the concept is also for both in Africa or in the States, people to derive sort of tips as to how they can also get into the property stuff. Now, the consortium buying, as you're going to explain in a minute, which is it's something in our community we struggle. You've explained, you mentioned the Indians and other communities coming together to buy and to start up. Now, if you can, as a legal person as well, if you can give us the legal background to it and how it can work comfortably in our community, just to add to what Nay asked.
Okay. I have someone who asked me a simple question. There's 3 of them in the house, and they all have full-time jobs, and they want to purchase the property. Does the property go in one person's name, or does it have to be someone nominated for the? I said no. Banks are happy if there's a consortium purchase, because they guarantee that the mortgage will be paid, right? It gives them a comfort in some way that there's 3 very good earners in one property, and they're going to have a mortgage in their names. Obviously, there's legal things to sign between the 3, right? In any cases, if someone wants out, they can buy the person out.
Okay.
But because of income-related mortgages and low income, and that, it's difficult for one person on a low income to be able to
get on the ladder.
Exactly, because he won't be approved with a mortgage. If you earn £1,000, they're looking at your. People don't think about their outgoings when you're buying a mortgage.
Exactly.
They think, all right, I earn 2,000 a month, so it's 24k.
Yeah.
Right. They don't even think about after tax what
Taxes
they get, and they think they can get a mortgage of 400 or 500,000, but it's not. It's mortgage is common sense. The bank knows you pay your electric bills, you pay council tax. You have a car, that's even worse case scenario, right? You buy petrol, insurance, and all that, and more so you have a family, kids
to take care of.
Well, kids are another mortgage in itself.
Another mortgage, that's good.
In itself. So Mr. A, B, and C will come together and prove their income in that. And I think most banks are happy to actually offer this, but
the consortium one.
It's been there all this time. It's been there all the time, but people don't know about it. You know?
But we've not shed light on it for a long time, and this the reason why this program is so relevant in our community. Because we, there's an adage in our where we all come from in Africa, and Ghana to be specific, as in that when you take one broomstick, you can easily break it. But when you add 2 or 3, let's say 4 or 5, it will be difficult to break.
It's solid.
So it's solid. That's the right word. Now, the consortium buying means that when you come together, whether you can be a family, brothers, sisters, or friends,
exactly,
or you work together,
yes,
or co-workers, or whatever, and you can still get on the ladder. If you are 10 of you, as you said, you mentioned, if 10 of you can come together, get onto the property ladder, and gradually,
Yes, absolutely.
everybody can have a share
Yeah, and
But
they can move on
and
take
buy,
it. Yes,
flip,
Yes.
and
exactly.
buy another
And,
property.
you know, another good thing is, you know, if you have a share of a property, or you are, let's say 4 people, you
Yes.
have 25% share of the property.
Yes.
You've already have one leg into that industry, so
Yes.
the bank will look favorably to you anytime you want to do anything.
Exactly.
Because you've already got mortgage, even though it's 25%, but at least you have your leg in there. So, you know, I think it's a very good idea, which our, you know, people within the community should be able to use all the time to leverage on other people, whether they're credit file or whether it's financial or anything like that. So, I would say if there's any question anybody out there that you want to know about what we're talking about right now, I think it would be a good idea to say that. Sorry, there's so many questions I want to ask you. So many questions I want to ask you, because I know a lot of people, the same question they're asking me, and you know, I'm happy that you're here for us to, you know, ask you all these questions.
Right.
You want me to throw another one, because I have so many?
I just wanted to also acknowledge our online viewers. We've got loads of people online watching us across board, from on Facebook, YouTube, and all the social media platform. If you want to send your questions, you've got any questions that you would like to know, we've got an expert professional here with us tonight, Mr. Della Segla, and who has been in the industry for years, and he's still relevant in the community, and he's making impact and transforming lives, as he mentioned, regards to the young adults that are coming up. And if you want to phone into the studio, our lines are going to be open in the next let's say about 15 minutes. We'll open the phone lines, but you can send us a text, whether on Facebook or message us on WhatsApp. The WhatsApp number is 07539661744, and the studio phone lines is 0208 1332257 or 0208 1332258. If you're calling from the United States or Canada, it's 001 718 303 2737. And on Twitter, you can reach us at Starr Radio UK, And tonight on Facebook, send all your questions, and we will be more than happy to answer to the best of our knowledge. And let me put this disclaimer out that, please, whatever I discuss here, the information that has been downloaded to you is not the final authority. If you have any need, please contact us and we will direct you to an expert, or you can go to any expert or professional that you want to go to. But then if you need directions as to the right people, because not all people are right. So if you need that, then please. And we have loads and loads of viewers on Facebook Live and also YouTube, and later on I'll acknowledge loads of them. And so Mr. Della,
Yes.
the consortium one is very, very, very important, very key. You know, when we talk about property, people step back and think, they look into their bank account and tend to think that, you know, I can't get in, because we as we all know, across the whole world, property is what makes the difference.
Yes.
And somebody will look into their bank account and think that, you know what, I'm going there, because it's not going to happen. Because as you rightly said, I earn £1,000 after paying my rent and paying all the bills. How much have I got left to even think of owning a property? Somebody like that earns below 1,000 or 1,000, and they are struggling to even get other people to come together. What are some of the ways that people like this can get into?
Well, why rent when you can buy? I mean, there's 4 people in a property and they're paying a landlord's mortgage,
Right.
And obviously,
paying the landlord's mortgage.
Of course.
That's true.
Yes, and it's not everyone that wants to have responsibility in having a mortgage and that. But if you look at property and you look across the world and entrepreneurs and moguls and that, most of them made their money out of property.
Sure.
Right? At this point in this century, we're talking about everything is backed by digital currencies and precious metals.
Yes.
Right? But these turn back into property. Right? Land is very important. If you go to Ghana at this minute, and a lot of people are purchasing flats for $400,000 and that.
$400,000.
Yeah, it's
to
quite.
purchase a flat.
Yes, it's quite frightening.
Seriously?
Yes, it's quite frightening. You know, Accra, Central Accra Mall, cantonments and that. There's properties that are being built, new builds and that. They priced just like properties in Europe, in the US, and people are buying properties in Ghana like that. But and they sustain and keep it for long periods of time and that. And what happens here in mostly in the UK, Europe, and with our demographics, my mom's got a property, so I live downstairs. Eventually, my mom's gonna die and leave me the property.
Yeah.
It's sad, but that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Your mom wants to have a property in Ghana, and they want to retire back home and live on the rental income if their pension is not enough. Because living abroad and going back and staying in Ghana, you have a different lifestyle.
Exactly.
Okay? And there's this thing, you're from Europe, so you smell of money. You know, you're a money tree. Thing. Yeah, I've been there, I've seen it and done it. A lot of our moms and dads would love the siblings, their children, right?
Yeah.
To have a property of their own and move on in life. They can't pay your deposit because they don't have the bulk money, but they can remortgage the property, right?
Yeah.
And gift you a deposit.
Sure.
Or they can go for a buy-to-let property and use their property as a security against the buy-to-let property, or do a let-to-buy. Like I'm saying, I've known a few people who have inherited property from their parents,
Right.
and they've lost it in a very bad way, because all of a sudden you're presented with a property that's got 200,000 equity in it.
Yeah.
Hey, no, I want to drive a 4x4, you know. So they lose the property. It's happened so many times.
Sure.
Yeah, I can name over the years more than 1,000 people who've got their property into distress because they've taken out all the money in
The equity out of it.
Exactly. You know, it doesn't have to be like that. When you buy a property, as the years go by, you tend to see if you've got good rates and that, you're able to keep the property.
Sure.
Now, when the rates drop to 0%, I've seen a lot of people who are helped get on the market. Mortgages drop from 700 to nothing, 200, 300, and that. But their rental income's shooting up.
Yeah.
And this is where you make money in property, right? The rental on a 3 or 4 bed will be 1,500, 1,600.
Yeah.
Your mortgage will be 300 quid. But then they work out their profit in such a way they forget the product that they're on. Why can you not pay £200 more to have a remortgage thingy?
So interest only
and repayment mortgage.
repayment
Mortgage. A lot of people don't know this. If your mortgage is 400 quid,
Yes.
and you tell the bank you're paying 600, you probably pay your mortgage off in 7 years or 10 years, not 25.
So
I'm not talking about a huge chunk of amount, but that is what people don't know. If you offer to pay a little bit more on the repayment mortgage, the years drop back so
quickly.
hugely. It makes such a difference. I'm paying my mortgage off in 10 years rather than 25.
yes, but Della, you appreciate the fact that in our community we tend to pride ourselves of us living by ourselves as families.
Yeah.
So therefore, a family might have, let's say, a 3-bed, and they're only using 2, or maybe they have 2 receptions and 3 bedrooms. But from what you're just saying, that 2 receptions and 3 bed can be turned into extra income
Yes.
by renting out 1 or 2, and then detaching ourselves from that emotional sort of, oh, this just my home. But I'm just deriving this from what you're saying, because at the end of the day, if the person has got a 3-bed, you've got 2 receptions, or even 1 reception, you can still squeeze yourself to do what? To be able to pay the mortgage at a shorter length of time
Yes.
than the 25 years, because that is like you're
Most
hanging yourself.
mortgages now go beyond that, to be honest.
25?
Yeah, 30 and that. Yeah.
Why?
So, yeah,
Why is that?
So it reduces the monthly payment.
Yeah, you can
To reduce the monthly payment.
You have a longer
You
mortgage.
have a login, but yeah, you can do that.
So
But let me jump
Yeah,
in.
come in.
Even
Hey.
makes, even makes the matters worse, doesn't it? Yeah, it makes it even longer. Yes, of course. You know.
Let me jump in quickly, Mr. Della. There are 2 things I want you to talk. I know you've mentioned it briefly, but it would be nice if you can just go through them. One is now gifted deposit. Okay, I know a lot of people want to know about that. The second one is using your parent house to, using your parents' house to get a mortgage, and I think you're explaining that as well before. So if you can just expand, tell more about these 2 aspects, because I know there's so many people within the community who are looking for different ways of able to go on the ladder.
Yeah.
sorry, the question you just asked, what has just also crossed my mind is that, anyway, let him answer and I'll come back. I'll come back with that. No, because I was going to say that it's a brilliant question, but what about some other people that their parents were not able to acquire, like a property?
Yeah.
So that in the same way, no gifted deposit or no.
But
mom and
gifted
dad.
deposit is something that is, that people use.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and I've been asked that question, and I know there's so many people within the community that sit on a large equity, and again they are looking for how to help their children. So this is very
set
good
them up.
way. Yeah, so I
Exactly.
want him to explain for people out there can understand that yes, there's a way you can actually go about getting your children on the property ladder.
Yeah. Thing is, if I own the property and I want to give the property to my children and there's some equity in the property, and it's on the open market, is, let's say, hypothetically 400,000. I want to sell it to my children at 300.
Yeah.
There's 100K in there, and this is where I give them. But you can only do this as a relative.
Yes.
Okay, and then that sorts out the problem of them putting down a deposit.
Yeah.
Okay, the deposit could increase to any amount, 25, 30, or 40%, because if your children are lower income, the lender would want a significant amount of deposit because of the risk, right? Also, another way is I remortgage my property and take out some money, equity out of it, and then give that deposit physically for a purchase, right? Okay, because I know my son he earns 1,200, and I only want to buy him a studio property. I don't want to buy him a 4 or 3 bed house, because we Africans, we like our privacy fiercely. We don't want to rent out a room to anyone in our house. We rather leave it empty, because you know the way we live. They don't want to have someone sharing.
But is that good enough?
This is our way of life, it's different. I'll take Bengali friends, for example. They could live in a community, in a property, 4, 5, 6 of them. And they might not necessarily be relatives or whatever. It's a friend who owns the property, renting a room out to that. But you agree with me that it's very difficult in our community people renting out a room. They don't want to come home and find someone working in their kitchen and that. So it makes things difficult. But I'll give you an example. A lady that has a 5-bedroom and she was renting the rooms out, and people coming in and going and abusing
The kids.
not the kids, but abusing her generosity and that, use electricity and don't pay. So she decided to split the property into 2 flats.
Okay.
And that worked. Because she had an extra property to rent out without her privacy being compromised.
Okay.
There's several ways of turning property around. You know, it's not.
The several ways is what we're looking for.
Yeah, that's a very good point as well in terms of converting house to, you know,
No,
flat.
property is not there to sit and acquire equity. You can extend the property. You can go in the loft. You can dig down. You can extend the garden.
Yeah.
You have to. You only have to get planning.
And I think you can do
permission.
6 meters now. I mean, is it?
Exactly.
Before you get
Yeah,
planning.
exactly.
Mr. Della is saying that you can dig down. You can extend.
And they do that in central London. A lot of houses are being digged down to
Not even central London. There was a trend, but now everyone. If you have the right quantity survey, structure underpin the house properly, your life fire things is now very important to your life. You must have very good access to the quantity survey.
I mean, I have a client of mine that looking to he has he done the conversion for his somewhere with a nice big bedroom flat. It's quite nice. Well, not
You
very
must
good,
have the right people
to be able to do it. Yeah, you're right.
Most data properties, you have to have it. If you have a good property, the whole of the basement. Planking is good because your walls are always dry,
Yeah.
and then a lot of people don't know this. But if you don't have the experienced people, you can even have your whole house subsiding,
Oh my.
or there'll be movement. and that is not good news.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true.
Mr. Della Nee, we're gonna take a short, very, very short break, and when we come back, we're gonna move to the next level, where you mentioned something earlier on that I believe our listeners and viewers will want to know more about: how to own 2 property
One mortgage.
and 1 mortgage.
Yes.
We'll be right back.
This is Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK.
It's one of the most prestigious events in the UK calendar. Our goal, recognizing and celebrating excellence within the British Ghanaian community. This July, Guba is celebrating 2 days of entrepreneurship and awards. On Friday, the 13th of July 2018, from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Join us for the entrepreneurship seminar. Then on the second day, a celebration of excellence, Guba Awards 2018. That's Saturday, the 14th of July, from 5:30 p.m. till midnight. It's the time of the year for us to network, meet the stars, and celebrate our great future. The venue, the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel O2, 1 Waterview Drive, Greenwich, London, SE10 0TW. His Excellency, the President of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, will be our special guest of honor. Grab your tickets now from www.guberawards.co.uk. Dress code, black tie or traditional only. For sponsorship opportunities, just email george@guberawards.co.uk or call 079-569-45360. Guber Awards 2018, celebrating excellence. The Guber Awards 2018 is proudly sponsored by Ecom Ghana.
Hello listeners, my name is Ira Lucy. I invite you to join me on the Starr Personality Profile Show this and every Tuesday at 6 p.m. on Starr Radio UK, where I will be talking to experts in their different fields to find out why they do what they do and what makes them exceptional in their various careers. This show is Starr Personality Profile on Starr Radio UK. Remember, the time is 6 p.m. every Tuesday. Download the app from your app store or join me live on all our social media platforms.
Listen to Aunties Mary, Lottie and Regina on the Family Enrichment Programme on Starr Radio UK this and every Saturday from 6 to 8 p.m.
Some people are wicked because don't make it your business going about revealing
people's secrets. Don't be a busybody.
And some people.
Today's typical family is under pressure from various directions. Divorce is on the increase. More and more of the Afro-Caribbean youth are taking to crime, etc. The Family Enrichment Program brings together a team of qualified experts to discuss and shed light on how we can make our families better and stronger. It is said the family can do without the society, but the society can't. Listen to the Family Enrichment Program this and every Saturday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Starr Radio UK, your favourite Afro-Caribbean radio station in London.
Lord, I need you.
Hi, my name is Captain Tete. Join me this and every Saturday from 4 p.m. as we delve deeper into today's miracle healing with my guest on Starr Radio UK.
Do you feel left out in your education or career but still want to do something about it? Then don't fret. If you are a resident in the UK, British or EU citizen, then there is hope for you. You are in the age bracket of 21 to 55. The UK government is offering grants, scholarships and financial support for first degree to masters in various courses. The government will pay all your fees and you can educate yourself in a peace of mind. From £21,000 per year for first degree, etc. Get in touch with GEM Educational Consultancy and we will guide you in applying for this facility. We are situated at 51 Albany Road, Hornchurch. The postcode is RM12 4AE. Telephone 079 0479 3019 or email us pastorjoeka@yahoo.com. Get financial support and acquire a degree. Are you looking for a job as a general nurse, theater nurse, ODPS, community nurse, healthcare assistant, mental health nurses, midwives, sterile services, domiciliary services? Then look no further. Bright Stars Plus Healthcare Agency have vacancies with good pay rates in London, Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire, Cambridge, South England, West Midlands, Sussex, and North of England. To apply, visit www.brightstarplus.com or you can call us on 073 890 64632. The number again, 073 890 64632 or email info@brightstarplus.com. Bright Star Plus, the best in
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Right, welcome back, our good listeners. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Property Hour Show on Starr Radio UK, where tonight we've been bombarded with so much precious information, and it's so educative, not just informative, but you know, I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, sure.
Nay, I don't know about you.
I'm soaking it in.
Sure.
Soaking it seriously.
Do you want me to ask you some questions about
that? My note is full.
Sure. But tonight we have a very special guest in our midst, Mr. Della Segla, and who's a property professional, lawyer by profession, criminology, and so he knows all the inroads, the byroads, the highways, and everything about the law. but then he's decided and shifted into property to also inform us that there's something in there. And in our community, what we're looking for and what this program is, our main goal is to get as many as we can in our community to focus on property, because we work hard, but there's nothing to show forth. So I believe that when in every problem, the solution to every problem is a secret. So when you get a secret, and keys open doors, keys are able to do what? Open doors, but keys are very tiny, and the keys is what he's giving us tonight. So listeners, please stay tuned, spread the news. This program every Thursday 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. And if you have questions, please send them through Facebook or on the WhatsApp. The WhatsApp number is 075-3966-1744. And if you want to call in, you're welcome to call in. The studio numbers are 0208-133-2257 or 0208-133-2258. If you choose to, if you live in the States or Canada, it's 001-718-303-2737. And please, on Facebook, you can send us your questions as well. And Mr. Della, before we went for the break, you gave us a hint. Now, I mentioned something which before we started, you said it is possible for me. Let me speak over myself. For me to own 2 properties with 1 mortgage. How is that possible?
Yeah, it's a specialist product.
It's a specialist product.
Yeah, it's a specialist product.
Okay.
I mean,
is it open to everybody?
Oh yeah. Thing is, in Ghana, West Africa, and all over Africa nowadays, there's property developers who will sell a property on mortgage basis. Okay, and you could take a mortgage on a property in Ghana, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, anywhere, right?
Okay.
If you could prove your income, if you live in that country and you can prove your income there, you can take out a mortgage. So why are you not able to do the same if you live abroad? There's tax issues and some stuff because you're in the UK or you're in the US, and this product will allow you to acquire a mortgage but also be able to purchase another property at the same time in Kenya, where you live, where you come from, and it will just give you 2 payments in one place, right? That will cover 2 mortgages. But again, I'm saying it's a specialist product, and there's tax issues involved in that. So yeah, but it's
possible.
Oh yes, of course. Ghana Home Loans have been doing this for quite a few years now, right? Because they advertise property and they get mortgages for people from the UK, right?
Right. I mean, when you mention tax issues, it tends
no, there is, because in the UK you must
can't
pay
dodge
tax, corporation tax. You must pay. Yeah, of course. You know, you have to be law abiding, and this is something that is regulated.
Yes.
You understand? I wouldn't lie to you that there's no tax issues. There is tax issues, but there's tax issues in even if you buy a property here and you import nothing else.
Yeah, even if you buy water, it is a tax.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So what is more important? I'm really interested in this, what you're saying, and I understand that. I mean,
it's something that the UK haven't tapped into if they want to do business with Africa, because that will bring a lot of revenue to the UK. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. Huge. Not to Africa or Caribbean.
It will help people. How would you think going back home after 20 or 30 years, you're 65, and we'll start building a property? Then you come back to the UK, you go back with land issues, in Nigeria, someone's built their property on your property and that, because you can't finish the property. But you're being sold a product that's finished, packaged, you know. And
that's brilliant.
There's no land issues in that. I've seen people go to court for 12 years just because someone's built a property on their land.
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
I like the product. From what you're saying now, I think
litigation.
Yeah, I think he's. I mean, in Africa, Nigeria, especially Lagos, is not an issue anymore because the government has put in so many laws to make sure that people just don't grab anybody's land. But what is really very important is what you said now, and I think if all those products are well developed, then you can see people having eating their cake and having it at the same time, which is good. So yeah, I think it's one of the best product, I think, because we're always looking for ways to bridge that gap between property investment in Africa and property investment in UK. And there's no reason why you're living in UK, you're not making money from property in Africa. You can live both worlds. You just have to be sensible about it.
And I think in our community it tends to happen that people get properties back home. They build for over 10 years back home, and then they don't live in. Some people don't even ever don't have the opportunity to live in.
Yes.
But from what you're saying, the package in a way with also expert advice can also at the same time you can own it, and it can be an income generating.
Of course, because I don't know about other African countries. I know about Ivory Coast. They're always one step ahead of everyone. Ivory Coast. Yeah, so I use their model.
Okay.
Right? And Ghana does the same. I mean, people pay 2 years rent in advance, right? And
sure,
that if you work this out, it's a huge cash.
That's a killer.
Exactly, but people, that is what the system is. You know, 2 years rent upfront and keep renewing like that. You know, it gives people the chance to, for example, if you have a property in a high profile area, right? The income you make out of that is incredible. It's totally incredible. And also buying cheap properties that have been flooded all over the place, right? And redeveloping them, put a little bit of money in them, and renting them out to corporate
bodies.
Yes,
yes.
Yeah.
That's very
and
important.
now the trend of Airbnb, you know.
Exactly.
Yes. It's very good. If people might think Airbnb is a European thing or developer, no.
I know it's booming.
I know people will be logging on aeroplanes, booking Airbnbs before they land in the next country.
Yeah. Exactly. It's a good business. I mean, I have some in Lagos I do use for Airbnb, and this is what I always advise people as well. It's good to build in Africa. Yes, you should build in your country, but be strategic about it, right?
Exactly.
I mean, especially if you're not planning to live, or you're not planning now to live permanently in Africa. Just be strategic. Let the asset generate income for you. That's the whole idea.
not to as a monument.
No, not as a monument.
Yeah, you see, no, you really have to study the market properly to purchase a property. I know in Ghana, rentals is a bit saturated. It's flooding the market with a lot of properties. Same in Ivory Coast and Sierra Leone and that. Yeah, a lot of affordable housing is going up to help civil servants and pensioners and grow on the market. And that.
We are short 17 million in Nigeria.
Yeah, 17 million.
We'll have to send you on an
yeah, sure. Why not?
So you can purchase an affordable
home.
Yes, if you have relatives who are, civil servants, police, and that, and that will also help them to get a place rather than renting, because most people's income go on renting.
Yeah.
It's quite expensive to live like that in back home. People will be looking at you in Europe thinking, yeah, please send us money, but that money goes against rent. If you purchase a property, at the end of the day, you own it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, to wrap up because of your time and listeners, we have Mr. William P.W. Omoni coming on later on after Mr. Della Segler he's leaving soon. But before you go, your organization, your company, I know Is it NIA? NIA.
Right. Okay. NIA is an organization that looks after young people.
Young people. Okay.
Yeah, young people with social problems and that. We mentor them 24/7 homes and make sure that we turn them back into the community mended, because most of them come from backgrounds that different backgrounds.
Sure.
Yeah, and we can't let them down. So people need help. You know, we got to put our effort into mentoring thing. I wouldn't say it's a demographic thing, but it's all across the UK. You know, the youth are very troubled. Okay, we've seen gun crime increase tenfold or whatever. It's because the care is not there.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, these kids don't want to go out and stab people.
Yes.
Or fight in the street. It's fearsome. When they're kept in a good place and mentored, you can turn around, because I've seen kids with generally psychological problems and mental problems and issues because their homes don't give them that kind of comfort. They have to run away from home and that. And this is one of the things we do, you know, help young people, mentor them, mend them, and so they can go back into the community and live normal lives. I've seen a few of them who've gone to university and they turn around from being, you know, you can't always blame a child's mind for what they do. If you put a child in a certain place that's full of animals, they'll behave like an animal. Exactly. But if you put them in the right place and they're with the right people and they listen to the right people,
the right environment,
yeah, they will eventually grow up as that.
Sure. And I mean, as a station, and also specifically for this particular show, we have the intention of having to organize programs in programs in regards to property, stroke construction industry, to sort of get our youth off the streets into property and construction, where they can also live a life for themselves, leave a legacy, have an impact.
I know a lot, sorry to cut you, I know a lot of you that would say they want to work on a building site. But what do they do? What are they thinking? Laboring.
No, that's not what we're going to offer.
Exactly. So,
no.
You talk them, they want to go in the right place. So you can actually give them a program, become a project manager or
site manager, program manager.
Exactly.
Get into.
But let me differ a little bit. You know, yeah, that's a good one. But there's absolutely nothing wrong in really being a laborer on.
No, absolutely not.
Because we in the community we are lacking builders. I know, you know, in this industry, you know, we are lacking so much builders. I run a small estate agency, and it's always a problem getting someone to do plumbing, getting someone to do this, getting someone to do that. You know, these are basic skills, and that helps a lot, you know, in the journey into real estate. So yeah, I think those skills are good as well.
And not just those skills, but then the end goal is basically to get them into the property arena, where they become big players.
If you're a plumber and you're fixing 200 properties a year, obviously you're going to certainly meet someone who would say, "Oh, I'm selling this property." And then
of course,
yes. Because exactly. I got a lot of my stuff from builder. Just to add to what you said, I got a builder of mine.
I could tell you that. Well, my EPC guy would tell me, "Oh, he spoke to this landlord and they're in trouble. You want to sell their property or help him." Most of the time, that's the case.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Now, I know you also do rentals.
Yes.
And you also do deals. Do you want me to go on?
Explain.
Oh, no, I'm talking about property deals legally.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about any other deals, but I'm talking about property deals. So, I mean, there's a lot to talk about, but for your time. So, I believe that, Nate, we'll have to reschedule another time.
Absolutely.
For us to host
Sure.
The big man again.
I'm always available if you take on calls and they want to speak to me. Or,
Exactly.
We're only in Croydon. We can be in Hastings. We can be in Newcastle if you want us to. You know, I'm not scared of traveling. I've traveled all my life, you know, and going anywhere else. And if I've lived in minus 20 degrees before, the weather obviously doesn't faze me at all. So you ask me to go to the Congo, I will.
As a half Russian, I know that you can do anything.
Thank you.
Sure. But before you leave us, we appreciate if you can give us your details. So if any of our listeners or anybody
of course
want or need your services, then basically we can let them know.
Of course, yes.
So
rentals, buying, redevelopment,
buying properties.
Yes, all that.
Okay.
You can talk. We can talk. And
Okay.
Yeah, put the people in the right places.
Okay.
We got qualified, registered mortgage brokers and financial people who are
Advisors.
yeah, and they're very much knowledgeable in the market in the UK and other places, Europe and that. In Africa also, I got people in Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast, and that who are into property. The issue we have in Africa is affordable homes. That is the main issue. That's the biggest issue. People have land, they have nothing to do with it. You can offer a joint venture with a developer,
Sure.
and the government will give you an exit clause.
Exactly.
You know? So you build 50 affordable homes, you sell it back to SNIT or Works in Housing.
Yeah.
And you know, it doesn't really affect so much of what you want to do at the end of the day, because some property developers will take a year or two to finish sale of 20 or 30 properties that they put on the market. But when it's affordable homes, right, you have the government taking it on. And you could turn around and turn over very quickly.
But I mean, you see, that is what I mentioned earlier on, that the secret is tiny, but they are that which moves you to your next level. As in, people are struggling. You have a land. You are fighting over the land. If somebody encroaches and there's that litigation, that's the right way, and happening left, right, center. But at the end of the day, as you mentioned, JV, joint venture,
yes, get
something done.
Absolutely.
Instead of you looking at the land and just,
why do you want to build a 5-bedroom house in a 5-acre land where you can put up hostels?
Exactly.
Right? Or affordable homes. There's always organization, funds, investors who would always look at it. Do you understand?
Sure.
So yeah, if you have land in Africa somewhere it's in a prime location, you can. I'm talking like proper joint ventures that will bring. You know what? You always have your exit clause, because the government, the police service, they would always purchase affordable homes. So
even in the UK, there's still a deficit.
Yeah.
On property. So yeah. So not to talk about Africa and the Caribbean.
Yeah, but it works a lot, because I've seen the Help to Buy scheme, which is amazing. It's wonderful, right? It's the reverse, being in Africa. It's affordable homes. And in this case here, you're helped to purchase a property. I see it as the same thing, but with two different concepts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. But for your time, tonight we've been privileged to host Mr. Dela Segler.
Yes. Pronounced properly.
I don't want to be in trouble. So, and if you want to, you need any information, advice for his services, you can reach him on 07714 248890. Is 07714 248890. That's Mr. Dela's phone number, contact number anyway. So if you choose to, if you need more information or any advice on properties and the bits and pieces that he's given us tonight, he'll be more than welcome to help. He's a good man.
Thank you.
And tonight he was here with Mr. Dwayne Richards, who happened to be silent tonight. But I appreciate you, sir. Thank you for coming. And we hope that in the near future, maybe in the next couple of weeks, we can get you here, because there's more to what we've discussed.
Yeah.
And then we can go into details further.
Let's help people.
Let's help our community.
Yeah, let's help people.
I think a slogan. Let's help people.
Yes.
Let's help our community.
Yes.
Exactly.
And the love will come back to us.
And the love will come back to us. Oh, are you a poet?
No, I'm not.
Right, okay. Our next guest is going to come on shortly, and he's also going to talk about something great, ownership. And he's no other person than Mr. William P.W. Omoni, who is also an expert, an accountant by profession, and he's also into property. So we take a short break, and Mr. Omoni will be with us shortly. Thank you so much, Mr. Della Segler and Mr. Dwayne Richards, for coming tonight. We highly appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Right. Thank you for tonight and welcome back to the Property Hour Show on Star Radio UK. And tonight we've been privileged to have our very own Mr. Dela Segler, who has been of immense, not just help, but very insightful information coming from him. And also tonight we have Mr. William P.W. Omoni on the line, and he is going to talk to us about ownership. Hello, Mr. William. Hello, Mr. William. I believe we've lost Mr. William, and we will, and I believe he's going to ring us back shortly. But before he calls in, again, hey, tonight, what are some of the highlights that you've picked up?
I mean, it's been nice, and I hope next time we have more time really to talk more about some of the things. A lot of stuff I've picked up here. Gifted deposit is one of them, really.
Gifted,
yes, and I think this is something that a lot of people should be looking at, because this is a question that comes all the time. Then using your parents' home maybe as to get your there's a deposit to get your own house. There's a way you could do that. We're talking about if interest only, you should be careful with interest only mortgage, because you're not really paying anything down on that property. And then we talk of using one mortgage, two houses, which are the things that we're going to be talking about.
I think that fascinates you. Yeah,
it does. Because I know there's so many strategies in getting properties, but I mean, information is the key. Until you people tell you won't know. So yeah, it's been a great night.
For me, my main hit tonight is a consortium buying.
Yes.
Which we've struggled in our community to hold. I mean, to get something like that going.
Yeah. I think the major thing is the fear, and I always say this,
the fear.
Yeah, get solicitor involved. Get it done right. You can go a long way by coming together to buy properties. Leverage on somebody that has a good credit if you don't have.
Sure.
Leverage on somebody that has money for deposit if you don't have. And if you're 6 or 7 of you, you can put money together, buy a property, and then add value to it and resell it. And if you don't want to add value to it, hold on to it for a few years, and when it's going to grow in value. So I think that's a very good one. I think it's something that we should be looking to do, especially within the community. And again, now even within the community, a lot of people are doing it anyway every single day. So I was speaking to someone recently about that actually, and they 3 of them are going to put money together to buy a flat, which is quite good. So I think it's a very good idea for people to look into.
Okay, I believe we do have Mr. William P.W. Omoni on the line now. Hello, Mr. William.
Yeah, sure. Hello.
Thank you for your time tonight, and thank you for coming on. I know
it's good to be on your radio.
Thank you, and it's great. It's great. I believe you've been listening as well tonight.
Yes, I have.
Oh, great stuff! Now, so tonight we talking about ownership.
That's correct.
Sure. Okay. Ownership. Can you give us a brief about ownership in terms of property?
Yeah, sure. Maybe it's better to start with the basics of what the word literally means.
Okay.
Actually, if you look at the dictionary definition of what ownership is, it's quite vague. All it says is the act, state, or right of possessing something. But beautifully, he says the ownership of land. Now, if say maybe somebody asked you to define something, then you gave such a definition, they would think, is this person normal? You haven't made it easier for somebody to actually understand what you're talking about when you're saying ownership.
Sure.
So maybe I'll try and look at the African perspective of what ownership is all about. For some of us who grew back in the traditional culture of Africa,
sure,
we know that land is normally communally owned. And to know who owns what, there's what we call a social contract that is almost coded within the whole community, so that when a chunk of land is pointed to, they'll tell you, oh, that's so-and-so's land. It was actually inherited from his father. They'll probably go back to the third or even the fifth generation to tell you who was owning. But still, that in itself does not define what ownership is. So, in a basic nutshell, for an African perspective, it's about who is going to be maybe digging in that place, who will be harvesting the crops, and who has the right to actually take on economic activities on a specific piece of land.
Sure.
So that means ownership boils down to risks and rewards. As in, if anything is going on wrong, they'll say, hey, look, so-and-so's land was maybe burned down. Let's say the crops on so-and-so's land was burned down. So if it is Mr. KB, that's Mr. Bossman,
yes,
who had his land, they'll say, oh no, he actually lost all his crops which were planted on this particular piece of land. Or if in any case it was a marvelous harvest that year, they would say, oh look, so-and-so's land had so much harvest, and as such, he's actually, harvested so much food, which is great, and the whole community gets to celebrate. Flip back to the UK perspective. If you brought in such a thinking, it wouldn't work.
Sure.
Because as far as the UK's system is concerned, it has to be written in black and white.
Exactly.
And probably witnessed and authenticated by many other parties. So ownership, still, the fundamentals remain the same. It's about the risks and rewards. Who can build on a particular piece of land? Who can live on it? Or who can farm it? And though the way in which the two are recognized are different, you realize that the fundamental principle of what ownership is remains the same. It's about who can actually enjoy the rewards and who is to bear the risks, if in any case there's a downside of it.
Sure.
Now, why is this very important? I'll, from this point, put on an accountant's hat. In accounting, we have what we call income, that is the revenue that you will be generating from any asset or one that you can transfer to somebody else. Generally, look at it as the rewards of economic activities. But on the other side, you have capital. That is the value of, if in any case we talk about land, of the land itself. Sorry. This is so valuable and very important in that if in any case you owned it in your personal name, as in we're talking about an individual, then we are saying the ownership is actually tied to that individual, and as such, any activity that happens will be classified as an activity by an individual, so that if in any case there's any tax to be applied to the activity that you are carrying on, it will be applied on that specific individual. If in any case you sell off the land, if you just use it for generating revenue, or if you transfer it to somebody else, let's say, Mr. KB is interested in giving the land to his son. it will be an individual, Mr. KB, giving it out and saying, let my son have this or let my daughter have this piece of land. So anything that happens, be it a transaction or it is the upside of risk, as such, is probably gaining something from it. It will be that person who will be assessed for any effect, be it tax or litigation, or even just a mere recognition that so and so is the rightful owner. But then flip it to a much bigger level where you have, say, 2 people or 3 people coming together to own one piece of land. That's very common in Africa, where you find a family owns a large chunk of land. It's recognized as one unit, but they know how they do divide it amongst them. The UK, that's still very much alive. You find more than 2 people owning a piece of land, or even just 2 people owning a piece of land. If it is in their individual capacity, you're recognizing that it's now not just one person owning, but there are 2 people, in which case we're talking about a partnership. Then it can't go on and on to partnerships between individuals, the partnerships between companies, partnerships between companies and trusts, and so many.
Right.
But all that actually does crystallize to what kind of value you can generate from property.
Okay.
History aside, let's look at this year. The UK changed their tax laws to the extent that if in any case you bought a property, sorry, if you bought an investment property as an individual this year, you got a mortgage on it, you cannot expense all the mortgage costs as an expense that is allowable for tax purposes. So it becomes a burden for you to actually buy a property in your individual name, especially if you're buying it for business. So should we still keep doing that? It leaves a lot to desire. But on the other side, what is now almost the norm is that many people are buying in companies. And from the discussion that I've had, especially with people from Afro-Caribbean background, when it gets into saying, hey, you own shares rather than owning the property in your personal name, most people get uncomfortable. To them, it's their name on the tin that matters more than how much income or capital gain that they're actually going to be getting.
Sure.
So why is it important to own in a company? When you own in a company, first of all, the tax rate is only 19%.
Okay.
But if you own as an individual, the basic rate of tax, that's if you're earning like 34,500, is 20%. But any amount over that goes to be taxed at 40%.
Right.
So the numbers clearly dictate that even on the basis of tax alone, thinking about ownership is very, very vital for any property investment.
Sure.
I hope that gives you the perspective of where we are driving at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So, from the brief background you've given us in regards to ownership, you mentioned using the company. For a layman, if you talk about company and somebody that does not, they might be interested in properties, but they're not too familiar or interested in going the way of the company. You've mentioned the tax implication as well and the percentage and everything. So with that, how can you break it down in simple terms to a layman to be able to buy that idea that you've just put across?
Well, it goes down back to the history that I highlighted too. If we were in Africa,
yes,
you would know that the village elders will be there to protect the widow, the children, and so on,
sure,
from them being sent away from their land. And as such, there is a point of protection, and there's a remedy for anybody who comes along to steal from, the habitats of a particular land. Now, that in the UK is actually a role and a task that is given to the courts and the rule of law. So let's put on the UK perspective and take a look at how it works. On the presumption that you want to start a business, in most cases, if you walk to an accountant, he'll ask you a couple of questions like, hey, what do you plan to do? Maybe the issue will be, I want to start, let's say I want to start a radio. So if you want to start a radio, then, okay, all you have to do is just, fill in this paperwork. What's your name, date of birth, and all sorts of things, then sign somewhere. And when do you plan to start? Maybe 1st of August somewhere. All that is the information that you'll take initially. Then you'll say, all right, you can actually go ahead and start trading. But in that case, if you wrote everything in your personal name, in other words, you are trading as an individual. Let's say in the first year you made 100,000. Then at the end of the year, which most people do, that's when they will visit again the accountants after 12 months. Then say, hey, look, this year has been, a beautiful year. We made 100,000.
Sure.
So here are the bank statements. What do we do next? Then at the end of it all, after the accountant crunching numbers, you'll say, hey, look, yeah, you've done well, but, around 40 to 45% of that 100,000 has to be paid in terms of tax to the government. And that's where the conversation normally starts. Everybody's like, no. That's too much money. Why should I pay that kind of money?
Exactly.
Then the accountant will say, you traded as an individual, and as such, the law requires you to do that. Then the progression, which is normal, is always like, is there something we can do about this? Because paying 45% of what you've worked so hard for is not a very, it's not something that you do happily. So in most cases, the accountant will tell you, hey, look, companies are taxed at only 19% this year. So if you form the company, you can actually do away with paying off over 40%. You'll pay only 19% of that, of whatever you'll have made. Then if you agree to that, you compare 19 to 40%, you say, yes, that sounds really good. So let's go ahead. If the accountant will say, all right, I'll give you a few forms to fill, and then we'll form the company. So technically, the company will take over your business straight away. Now, what you've done in its sense is to get your name, instead of it being what is owning the business, now a piece of paper, which is technically a contract, is actually now owning the business. But you instead own the company. The only way you own companies is through shares. In other words, we can have 10 or hundreds or even just a few people. It starts from one. But there's no maximum. As many people as possible can buy shares now in that company. So what have you done technically? You've only changed who is recorded as the owner of the business. That's the same thing that happens in properties. Let's say you identified a good property somewhere, say in London, that you're saying, hey, look, this property is worth 1 million. Somebody is selling it off for, say, 600,000. So even before I buy it, I'm making myself a gain of close to 400,000. So you say, all right, but if I bought it in my name, I'll be paying tax at 40% on the income. And if there's a gain, if I'm a higher rate earner, as in if I earn more than
Sure.
34,500, I'll have to pay capital gains of like 28% in comparison to somebody else who earns less than that, who will pay 10%. And yet, if I'm to put all that in a company, as in, instead of me owning it, I can own shares in the company that will then buy that property. So I'll be still the man who is in charge. But if they're assessing tax, they won't assess that tax on me. They'll assess the tax
on the
piece of paper.
Right. So,
which piece of paper is the company?
Sure.
I hope that gives you the idea of what a company is.
It's crystal clear on that. And in a nutshell, what you're encouraging every one of us or individuals that are into properties on commercial basis or in terms of turning it into a business, it's more beneficial to get a company so you're covered, you're protected, and that also gives you an upper hand. Is that what you mean?
It gives you upper hand, yes, in many ways. Look at it at the basic life itself. For a human being, we all have like up to 100 years, and after 100, you're surely going to be dying. But a company can live for ages and ages. There are companies that were, that are now celebrating 500 years in the UK.
Exactly.
All you have to do is just make sure that the paperwork is right, and as such, you can keep transferring it from one person to the other, from you to your daughters, to your sons, to everybody, then they to their sons, and so on. But the real best part of it is that if you are having a company, then there are many things that companies can do that we humans can't do. For example, if you have a company, you can be an employee of your company. And if you are an employee of your company, then straight away it also becomes an expense within the company.
Sure.
Which ends up reducing the profit, and as such making you pay less tax as a company, but of course you as an individual, then you get to pay more. Am I saying you have to invest in companies, as in buy properties using companies? It makes a plausible case, but it is not a mass case because there's no one size fits all. Sometimes it will be good to invest as an individual, but depending on the facts of the case, I would always say if it is properties, from this year onwards, given the changes and the tax rules that we've seen, you're better off investing in a company. If we're talking of the high-end investors, though, that I would say it's better you seek advice before you actually get into what entity to use.
Exactly.
But of recent, we've actually had many people were buying in, let's say, over 5 billion and above. We've actually had to tailor their ownership in a much more structured, let's say, a specific purpose built vehicle that ends up meeting the objective.
Right. Mr. William, I believe that the angle you're coming from makes a lot of sense, as in more or less you're a taxman. As an accountant, let me put it that way, because you're giving us that angle for many of us not to get into sort of giving away the hard-earned cash or hard-earned money, but rather try and get yourself into a company where you're protected, and also it gives you more room to operate and to also increase your portfolio or business. And I mean, because of time, I'm going to throw one more question and we will be wrapping up. We're hard pressed with time. But from what you just mentioned, as a taxman, I'm sorry to call you a taxman, but I know you're an accountant. You deal with the numbers and everything. But it's somebody online, Angia Santor, is saying that okay, she had a similar dilemma on the decision like that today. Oh, that's brilliant. But just to say that, if in a nutshell, if you can summarize possibly in the next minute or two, ownership or operating from the perspective of a company, you've mentioned so many benefits, but once again, let me throw it back to you, that what will move in our community, what will move somebody that have got 3 properties and for them they are doing well, they're okay with where they are and the income coming in. What do you think will move them to sort of getting into forming a company?
Okay, let me look at the facts. It shouldn't be like an either or something that somebody has to say, I'm comfortable here or I'm comfortable the other side. It's about, do actually the numbers make sense?
Sure.
This may take more than a minute, but let's look at the facts. Say if this year somebody is owning 3 properties and the value is around, say, 350,000, and they collect annual rents of, say, £17,400. Let's also assume that they pay expenses, general expenses on the property of around, say, 5,900. Let's say, okay, £5,900.
Sure.
And their mortgage expense for the year is around 9,700 in addition to the other expenses.
Mm.
And to make it much more, of a case to be real life, let's assume also that that person is in employment and say earns £45,000 a year.
Sure.
If those are the set of facts, so the total income is 17,400.
Yeah.
He spends 5,900 on to look after the property.
Mm.
So his gross income his gross income is 11,500.
Mm.
Now, from this year onwards, the 9,700 that he has as an expense, actually from 2020 to 2021, they cannot expense it, as in it's not an allowable expense. So all the mortgage expenses is disallowed. So in effect, you're paying tax on your gross income of 11,500. So if that number is done correctly, you'll realize that the person will be due, as in they have to pay tax of around 2,660.
Okay.
So if that is now offset, those are the numbers, right?
Yeah.
Let's look at the cash flow effect. Gross profit of 11,500,
yeah.
Finance costs of 9,700 because you still have to pay the mortgage, otherwise they'll take back the property.
Yeah.
So if you pay that, then you pay income tax of 2,600. Your net cash flow will be a loss. You will be paying somebody to live in your property at a tune of £860 a year.
Sure.
Now, £860 is a massive amount of money.
Exactly.
But on the other side, if you were to put it if you were to own it in a company, your gross profit will be 1,800 because you can actually expense all the expenses, including the finance costs. So you'll have 17,400. You net of the 5,900 and net of the 9,700 mortgage expenses, leaving you with a gross profit of 1,800. And if you look at the cash flow effect, at the end of the year, you will have 1,494,000. Let me say, who can give you money for free without you doing anything for it? You're better off clearly investing through a company. But this is at the basic level, and of which I'm sure that most people, this actually speaks to the state of many people. So is it a case of comfort? I don't think so.
Right.
What I would say is take a look at the numbers.
Yes.
And if in any case they make sense, and at the end of the year, you look at the cash flow and the expenses that you're paying, and you realize that you have a profit, then keep in there. But still, keep an eye on the changes that are coming ahead, because many people are going to end up making losses. Many people.
Exactly.
So the faster you look at it now, the better for you in the longer term.
Right. Mr. William P.W. Omoni, I would like to say a very big thank you. You shed light on a subject that's very key, and it's not very popular in our community. I can say that for a fact, with no apologies, that we tend to narrow our view in terms of our vision when it comes to let's say making more out of the tiny that we have. It can increase or multiply. It's dependent on the individual, and as you've mentioned. But because of time, we're hard pressed with time. Got a couple of minutes to wrap up now. But then I would like to say a very big thank you for shedding light on ownership and owning a company, and all the bits and tidbits that you've given us tonight. We highly appreciate it so much. And there are so many people watching via the TuneIn app, and also YouTube, on Facebook, and across all the social media platforms. And I'd like to say we'll look forward to having you in the studio one of these days, and I believe it will be a great time to host you.
Not a problem. I look forward to it too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for tonight, and I believe that we'll catch up sometime this week.
Sure.
Thanks
a lot.
Thank you so
Cheers.
much.
Yeah.
Cheers. Thank you. Listeners, thank you so much. That was Mr. William P.W. Omoni talking about ownership. I mean, owning a company instead of going solo or by yourself. But I have a question here that one of our viewers is asking, that can an individual jointly buy a property with a business? And Mr. Consultant,
an individual?
Yes, can an individual jointly buy a property with a business?
So people coming together, forming a business and use it to buy a property.
Exactly.
It's possible, yeah. I mean, that's what limited company is all about.
Okay.
So you can come together, form a company. It's even advisable to do that. So at least you can recover yourself legally.
So more or less is just what Mr. Omoni has been talking about, as in owning the company and also using the company, and that answers the question. Angie Asantwer, I believe that answers your questions. And tonight we have so many people, viewers online, and on listening to us on the TuneIn app, and also online, and YouTube, a whole lot. I am fed tonight, my brother.
It's a lot of information, yeah.
Yes. Let me acknowledge some few friends and family that have stayed with us throughout the whole. Had loads coming in. Koa Santik, Kosinke online, Mrs. Vicky Newton, Mr. Jones, T.J. Jones, Mr. Raymond Williams, Mr. Deloche, Papa Mudako. I've got Mrs. Francisca, we have Bossman, Mr. Emmanuel Ajakwa, Mr. Emmanuel Amogi, Mrs. Adjoa Ama Apia, the one and only Masro Achu, Dr. Peter Safo Edusobre. Oh, thank you guys. Miss Angela Asantua, Mr. Rahimba. Oh, Godfred, my brother. Asante. Godfred up here. Sorry. I don't know why I'm calling you Asante. We'll go Kofi Aponza, Mr. William PW Money, and loads of people tuning in tonight. But I believe that tonight has been great. I don't know what you've got out of tonight.
Yes, quite a lot, and my notes is full of everything I've put down. And I think this is a topic that's big, and probably gonna go through them one by one as we have the guests back in the studio.
Exactly, and please do watch out that we have up coming up in November the 10th is the first ever the African and Caribbean Property Awards UK TACPA for the first time in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
Please watch out. We've got adverts and we've got flyers coming out all over social media, and you will love it. You will love it. And also we want you to know that in the next few months we putting together to hold training sections for people that want to get into property. If you got no funds to start or to get into property, the know-how, the when to start, how to start, all the questions being answered in one place. Possibly in the next few weeks we'll give you a date, so what the space, and it's going to be bigger and can only get better.
Sure. And
tonight I've been here with my one and only, my brother Nei Ajay, and it's been awesome. He's a property consultant, and tonight those KB Bossman and your host with my co-host Nei Ajay. God bless, no stress, nothing less. Stay blessed. Thank you, and catch you same time next week, God willing, on a Property Hour on Star Radio UK. Spread the news in our community. Thank you.